Hey gang, welcome to another video. This time I'm talking about MUDS again. MUDS is taking Topps public via SPAC. I did a video on this one a couple of weeks ago where I basically said, hey, I like the stock. I'm buying more at 1070. It's trading around 12 bucks right now. The reason I'm making another video here is that, hey, the launch of their Topps MLB NFT product happened yesterday, and it was relatively successful, at least from the perspective of an investor. I think some of the users were kind of annoyed that the website was down. They were hit with about 1.2K requests to access the websites per second. So that was clearly indicative of high demand here. The premium pack sold out pretty quickly. The standard pack sold out right after. So you're talking about quite a bit of revenue. There were about 25,000 of these packs at $99.99. So at $99.99, and there were about 50,000 of these packs at $4.99. It was slightly less than that, but it was right about there. So you're talking about $2.7 million in revenue in maybe half an hour, maybe an hour tops. So demand was high. That's clearly shown by the fact that some of these packs are now reselling on the secondary market for a lot more than what they were sold at on the primary market. When I looked at the investor presentation for Topps, you kind of saw these numbers in that presentation, and it was clear to me that some of these digital S&E, which is where the NFTs fall into, were probably a conservative estimate of what they were going to get. You know, they went from 18 million in digital transactions to 31 million in 2020. These are actuals, up to 41 million in 2021. And this included some of their digital products, like some of their app-based things like Topps Bunt, etc. So I don't believe, and again, I can't be certain for sure, that a lot of their NFT prospects were embedded in this number, nor were they really embedded in the valuation that Mudrick was giving Topps. And you sort of heard that from Jason Mudrick in some of his interviews, that he said, hey, we're getting this value business at a good valuation, and there's upside of the NFTs if they happened. Well, they've happened now, and not only are they getting 2.7 million in revenue from the primary space, which is already, you know, basically, whoops, I multiplied when I meant to divide. 2.7 divided by 41, which is what? 6 to 7% of their digital revenue for the year right there. Basically 25% of their expected growth right there in one 24-hour period. They're also getting something else that they don't get out of the physical space, is that they get a cut of the secondary revenue. I did a video the other day when I opened up some of the packs that I bought and kind of went through the offering that they have via Wax, and you can kind of see that some of the summaries here are there's a 6% collection fee, a 2% marketplace fee, a 2% tokenomics fee. I don't really know what these apply to, but there's certainly a cut that Topps is taking from these secondary revenues, whether it's 6%, whether it's 2%, it's still a cut that they're getting. And that may not mean much until you see what the secondary revenues actually are, because in the first 24 hours of the product being out, they've made almost $1.6 million in secondary sales. That's, you know, buyers to sellers. And 1.6 million isn't a ton when you talk about, hey, what's 2% of that? What's 6% of that? On the bottom end, it's 32 grand. On the top end, it's 96 grand in terms of potential additional revenue for Topps. But if you think about this product long term, can this secondary market succeed? If you look at what happened with NBA Top Shot, where they have a secondary market that's active and thriving, where they've made 122 million in sales in the last 30 days, that's a comparable thing there. Top Shot is another NFT in the NBA space. It's a bit different in that they don't sell cards, which are kind of static. They sell moments, which are, hey, this is a dunk of an NBA player, which might be kind of cooler and have a bigger appeal. But Top Shot, which had about 500 million in secondary and initial market sales, is now being valued at about 7.5 million. Now, that's not a good comparable, because Top Shot also has the owner of Top Shot, rather, Dapper Labs, also has developed its own token, Flow, which is what the game and entertainment Top Shot is based on. So that probably increases its value. But they're getting a 12, 13x valuation based on their revenue of the NFT business. And over here, you're getting a 1.8x valuation off of a higher revenue, simply because it's physical revenue, right? So now that this digital revenue is developing more than it developed in the past, is there potential for this valuation to kind of increase, especially if these results continue to be as attractive as they were. And it's hard to make that case yet, but the initial results are favorable. If you can say that, hey, they're going to keep releasing some of these packs, make decent money from each release, if they can continue to keep this secondary market alive, 32,000 might not seem like much, but if it's every day, it's 11 million in revenue. If it's on the higher end, it's 35 million in revenue. If this becomes a 6 times a year thing where they're making revenue here, can they make an additional 25 million in digital revenue right there? Sure. And that's not to say that this is a guarantee. Maybe this was a fluke. Maybe people will just lose interest in this. Maybe this 10% fee is going to turn people away. Maybe dealing with the blockchain is going to turn people away. Dapper Labs charges a 5% transaction fee. Wax is taking 10%. I don't know enough about Wax to say whether or not transferring Wax into dollars is a pain in the butt, whether there's high fees because it's based on the Ether token. Don't know enough about that. Don't know whether there's going to be secondary demand like we saw in the first 24 hours. I think right now it's all it's all a maybe, right? But the demand for Topps was bigger than Top Shot in the last 24 hours. That's pretty cool. But also there was a Topps release in the last 24 hours, whereas NBA Top Shot didn't have one, right? So the secondary market probably does better when it comes to release days. It's going to be interesting to see, hey, when we're in the middle of May, what are Topps MLB revenues looking like? And it's good because Crypto Slam kind of tracks that for you. So as an investor, you have a website to go to and say, hey, if these things are at 80 million or 100 million 30 days from now, that's a really good sign to be a Topps investor, to be a MUDS investor, because that secondary market revenue seems like it's growing and throwing off some additional revenue for Topps. But it also means that the next time they release something in the MLB space, it's probably going to sell out because people are going to be interested in either buying or reselling or holding or collecting, right? And then right now, this market is very much driven by speculators. Similar thing for NBA Top Shot. The reason I say that is because you can go to the secondary market right now, and the packs that you bought for $4.99 are basically reselling for $25 to $30. The packs that you bought for $99.99 are reselling for $320. I bought about $1,000 worth of packs. Woo, crazy! And I could basically resell all of those for $3,000 right now. Wash my hands of it and be happy with the investment, I guess. But I don't want to do that. I want to play this out and see how it goes. I did a video about my experience there. I opened a few packs. I kind of dug it, honestly. I kind of dug it as a collectible. It's probably not as cool as NBA Top Shot because, again, like I said, those are moments, they're dunks, etc. These are just regular old cards, but people are also familiar with regular old cards. That gives you like a feeling of nostalgia that you can get that you don't really get with anything else. Opening these baseball cards and kind of seeing, hey, I got this rare card, I got this other card. I'm certainly going to participate in the secondary market. I've got some cards that are rare, that are super rare, that have already sold for $100 that I pulled from a $99 package, and that also includes 44 other cards, so I basically profited there just from one card alone. So it'll be cool to open those, and I'll open more of those online as well. It'll make videos for those. I created a new playlist that is for collectibles and NFTs as I get more involved in that space and have some fun there. And again, I'm having fun here with these collectibles. I am not a qualified investment advisor. If you want to make any investments or anything, whether it comes to stocks or NFTs or collectibles, please talk to a qualified financial advisor. But essentially all I'm saying here is that this first release was a success, and it leaves me excited as an investor because there's two things that can happen, right? Your digital S&E revenue is going to go up. Let's say, right off the bat, you're potentially having an additional 30 million in revenue. And again, this is optimistic. If they do 5 releases and they all sell out, or 6 releases and they all sell out, and if this secondary market revenue continues at this pace for the full year, which is probably a bit optimistic, but let's say it even does half of that, right? And let's say this is even half of that, you're still talking about an additional 10 million, 13, 14 million in revenue, which is better than what you're seeing here. So the growth is certainly going to be higher than the 22% they projected. And the other thing you get is, hey, Dapper Labs, which obviously is not a comparable company because it has blockchain technology that they're working with, but also have an NFT product, is valued at 12x. Is there potential for this, if it's successful, to get a 3 to 4x multiple? I think the answer is yes, right? And this thing is trading at 1.3 billion at $10, so closer to what is it at $12 what it's trading right now. So, whoops. 1.3 Those are 1.5 billion. You know, if the multiple expands to 3, you're already talking about a pretty decent gain, a 30% gain off of where you are today, and that's not inclusive of any revenue that you may get on top of that. And I think that's fair. Like when I made this investment thesis in my initial video, I said, "Hey, the multiple seems low for the type of growth that you're getting, even when you compare it against the standard S&P 500, right? If the S&P 500 is valued at 3x right now, it's growing at less than 10%. Why is this valued at 1.8x when it's growing at 20% plus, right? So I think multiple expansion here is one of the reasons I invested in it. But I think there's more to it beyond that. I think there's revenue expansion potential because of this new NFT product that wasn't really considered in some of these projections. And this is just MLB, right? There's Formula One that they have. There's the Champions League, Euro 24, Bundesliga, MLS, Marvel, Star Wars, etc. You know, Michael Eisner, who's the chairman of this company now, he was CEO of Disney. He has deals and contacts there. Can they transfer this NFT deal that they made with MLB into all those other properties? Maybe they're probably not going to be as successful as MLB. They're not going to be as successful as NBA because the fan base isn't there. I mean, Formula One is maybe, and some of the soccer properties, I mean, they're going to be popular worldwide, maybe not so much in the United States, but worldwide, this has potential as well. Are they going to be able to make deals with those companies? And if so, you know, are these projections pessimistic, right? Because there's going to be a primary market for all those NFTs as well. Maybe not as huge as MLB, but still there. There's going to be a secondary market for those NFTs as well. Hey, even if you look at some properties like, let's go to all time. Hey, another property of theirs is Garbage Pail Kids, 2 million. So not a ton, but it's Garbage Pail Kids, right? It's certainly not Marvel or I guess I wouldn't say Godzilla. Certainly not Marvel. Star Wars Godzilla had about 500,000. These are just secondary transactions. These sold out right away in the primary market. Then you've got there's a F1 product. So I don't know if that limits what Topps can do with that, but that's already made almost 3.5 million in secondary market transactions. Not sure what that means primary. And then you've got NBA Top Shot in the 500 million space. CryptoPunks. You know, can MLB, Topps MLB get up there? You know, if they can, then this stock has a lot of potential. But like I said in my initial investment, even if this thing is kind of a bubble right now, even if NFTs don't stand the test of time, if these secondary markets kind of die out, collapse, whatever, there's still going to be collectors out there that want this stuff, but it might not be as hot as it is right now. This value is still fair for what you're getting. And then you're getting this digital business on top of that. And I think that's an interesting play. That's why I'm an investor here. That's why I actually picked up a bit more when it dropped below $12 the other day, even though my cost basis is $10. And I don't think that this is definitely floored at $12. You know, the SPACs right now in general are getting absolutely slammed. You know, people are not into growth stocks right now. And since February-ish, SPACs have been on an absolute downturn. You can look at really any SPAC-related company, and they haven't done well, whether they're pre-DA, post-DA, post-merger, etc. You know, I didn't think that was unheard of because you saw a little bit of a bubble forming towards the beginning of 2021. You had SPACs that were essentially shell companies with $10 in cash trading for $14, which made absolutely no sense. So I was a seller back then. I unfortunately didn't sell everything, but I sold probably half of my holdings and kept it in cash. And I've been buying a bit more now that prices have leveled down. And SPACs are also not my primary investment. You know, a lot of people have 100% of their money in SPACs, which I think is pretty insane. I have probably 10% of my money, some of my speculative money in SPACs, because I think they're still an interesting vehicle to get access to companies at relatively fair prices that you might not be able to get access to. There's obviously issues with dilution, et cetera, that you have to account for. And potentially buying after merger or after merger announcement is the way to go, and not buying with, you know, at 50% above NAV before a merger is done, or 40% above NAV, which is where you saw some SPACs, which was crazy. But there's certainly some values here. I think MUDS is still a decent value even at $12. If it drops again into the 11s or the 10 range, I'll probably pick up more, even though it's becoming one of my biggest holdings in the SPAC space, right behind Genius Sports, DMYD. And I'm digging it. I'm digging what's happening with Topps. MLB NFTs, not only as an investor, but also as a collector. Check out my other video about opening packs and how the product looks. There's another mechanic in here where you can take, I can't log in, but you can basically take some of your common cards and do what you call burn them. So basically destroy them to create other packs of cards, like unique weekly packs of cards, which is going to keep supply low and keep demand high for some of those cards. And I'm assuming they're going to be rotating cards. That's going to keep demand high for some of these standard packs, which include a lot of these common cards. So I think that's an interesting mechanic. I don't know if collectors are going to love it, but hey, as an investor, I'm kind of liking it. And kind of as a collector, I like it because it gives you a reason to keep those common cards and create additional packs of unique cards that are event exclusive, that are probably going to be weekly. So there's going to be a continual thing that they're doing with this that is going to drive demand, I think, because they've certainly got ideas that they're working with. There's more potential with some of these digital cards than there is with the physical cards. And if Topps can execute on that, then this is going to be a hugely successful business in the digital space, especially if the digital space sticks around. And I think it's going to be a good investment for people who get in at the ground floor like myself. Let me know what you guys think. A lot of upside here, I think, from where we are today. Personally, I don't think there's a ton of downside. There's some, certainly, because it's a SPAC, and SPACs are hated right now. But you've got this confection business that is relatively consistent. You've got this physical business that may be sort of in a bubble, but it's not going to go to zero by any means. Even if the bubble crashes, people still like collecting physical cards, and people are starting to like collecting digital cards more now, including myself. I'm in it, and I'll make more videos about opening packs and selling stuff on the secondary market in a different playlist than this one. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you picked up some cards. Let me know what you're thinking about your investment. Again, for me, this is a long-term investment, so the fact that this thing is down pre-market doesn't bother me. I don't know what the stock market's looking like, but if it drops into the 10 range again, the 11 range, I'll buy more. I am looking at these investments not from a 2-month period. I don't want to get in and get out because SPACs are hot. I'm not speculating on SPACs. I am thinking of these as, hey, if I hold this until 2027, am I going to be beating the market? Because most of my investments are in the S&P 500. So if I'm making individual investments, I want to try to beat the S&P 500. And if I see a way to do that, I'll invest in those stocks. And it's hard to find ways to do that with a lot of SPACs because a lot of them are very speculative. A lot of them are, I'm looking to 2025 through 2027. Some of these SPACs won't have a lot of revenue until 2025, right? And Topps is not that. Topps is an actual cash producing company. It may look boring on the outside because it's candy and physical cards, but it's growing at 23%, 22% real growth with upside in the digital space, and it's valued at less than the market. And that to me doesn't make much sense. So I think that'll change. I think it'll get revalued eventually when the reality of the revenue growth comes to the forefront. And I think some of these NFT plays, them getting more press about them, is going to make that multiple go up. But that might take a while to happen because right now there's a very negative mentality when it comes to the SPACs, and MUDS, along with any other companies, is going to get hit by them. So if you're in the short term, if you're a short-term investor thinking that you're going to get a quick pop because of the NFT angle, maybe you will. Maybe it'll happen, but I wouldn't count on it in this market because even good deals are basically going nowhere right now. There aren't many SPACs that are getting a pop post-deal. Actually, there haven't been many deals in the last couple of days, so I think there's going to be a lot of SPACs still kind of renegotiating based on current market dynamics. A lot of pipe money is probably not as eager to invest based on current market dynamics, so might be a slowdown in the SPAC market, might be a small slowdown in the actual SPAC deal making market. So we'll see how it goes. But for me, again, MUDS, Topps is a long-term investment, and I am excited, at least initially, based on what I saw with this. But I'll check in again in 30 days, and I'll do more card opening videos and hopefully get more cards and maybe sell some cards on the secondary market so I can buy more packs in the future. but we'll see how that goes. So guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think about the launch. Let me know what you guys think about Topps in general. Leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, etc. Again, not a qualified financial advisor. Please do your own due diligence. Talk to a qualified financial advisor before you make any investment decision. Any investments come with risk of loss, whether they're stocks, collectibles, NFTs, etc. Thanks for watching. Have a